Hi, I'm Jim Spohrer, and I'd like to congratulate the Symposium for celebrating 40 years of Bayesian learning and speech and language processing, all the organizers. I'd also like to congratulate the Honorary Committee Chair, Professor Chin-Hui Lee of Georgia Tech, and thank Huck Yang for this opportunity to mention a few historical notes. Well, 40 years ago, Professor Lee and I were much younger, and we both worked for a early speech recognition company called Verbex that was near Boston on Route 28. And Route 128 was a challenger to Silicon Valley in those days for innovation. A lot of the early companies like Digital Equipment Corporation were there, Wang. Of course, today 128 is still famous because that's where Boston Dynamic is located. It was an exciting time in the late 70s and early 80s for speech recognition. More people were starting to use speech recognition. But of course, we didn't have access to tens of millions of hours of speech data online like the folks at OpenAI who developed Whisper have. We had to set up a toll-free number and collect speech samples from friends and family. Some of us had the opportunity to work in speech recognition because of Steve Moshier, who was a visionary entrepreneur who started Dialog Systems in 1971. And if you're interested in these early speech recognition systems, there's a URL here. There's a paper of Steve's uploaded by NASA called Statistical Assessment of Speech System Performance. And it's a great paper. It shows some of the early systems. It even has a Q&A with some of the other vendors. So this is a really important historical document for those of you who are interested. Steve hired a lot of us. He hired me. He hired Peter Brown. In fact, Peter, just a couple months ago, gave a talk at Goldman Sachs where he mentioned Steve Moshier. I was delighted to see this, and also talked about Dialog Systems. And Peter provides a lot of other insights about the history and future of artificial intelligence. So check that out. Things really took off at Dialog Systems when Steve Moshier hired Jim and Janet Baker away from Fred Jelinek and IBM Research. IBM, of course, had the top speech recognition in the world. And so it was a big coup for Dialog Systems when Steve hired Jim and Janet Baker. Publications took off at Dialog Systems. We were on the map. Exxon acquired us and renamed us to Verbex. And of course, later, Jim and Janet formed Dragon Systems. Well, that's about the end of my historical remarks. I hope you found them interesting. This is a really exciting time with generative AI taking off, and there's no end of innovation in sight as computer power keeps increasing, online data keeps increasing, and I hope you have a great symposium. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you're interested in the history of speech recognition and artificial intelligence. Just put a little note when you connect with me on LinkedIn, Bayesian Symposium or 40-year celebration, so I know you're a real person. Have a great symposium and hope these comments were of interest. Bye for now.